Hey everybody, it's Lynnea with a video for Simon Hurley Create. Today I am going to be making a card that heavily relies on stencils and ink blending. In fact, there is very little stamping to this card and no coloring with markers. The only color is going to come from ink blending. So I have a variety of products here. I'm going to start with a piece of Simon Hurley Create stark white cardstock, and this is the Cake Maker stencil. So this stencil is going to allow you to build a bunch of cakes using, depending on which cakes you want to do, there's a double layer cake, a single layer cake. You can do it with or without the cake stand. There's a whole bunch of different designs you can use. I think it's a really versatile stencil, and I'm going to create a colorful little cake. So I started with the cake stand, and at first I thought I was going to create like a white cake stand, but I wanted my cake to be white. So I switched it up, and I used Prom Queen, this bright pink ink, for the cake stand. I'm using pieces of masking tape throughout my video. I'm going to be cutting out this cake with scissors, so I'm using the tape to adhere my stencil onto my stark white cardstock, not so much for masking in this case. I'm coming in here with some Woof ink, very, very lightly, to kind of create an off-white or gray-ish cake. And then I decided to use this kind of drippy icing to decorate my cake. Like I said, there's a bunch of different ways that you can decorate with confetti, with little lines. I just like this drippy icing. So I chose a color that I thought would go well with my bright pink cake stand. I love the Simon Hurley Create Remember Me ink color. It's one of the original inks, and I just think it's a really pretty, like a deep blue, almost bordering on like a deep teal-ish color. It's a really pretty ink color, and so I'm just going to blend that on. I'm using fingertip blender brushes. You don't have to. There's a bunch of different ink blending tools. You can use whatever you like. I just found these easiest since I was dealing with small areas to ink blend. And then I also went ahead and I stenciled on a couple candles. I used Over the Moon and then Guppy for the flames, and then I also layered on some rosy cheeks for the stripes. And then I cut around that whole cake with my scissors so that I could have a little element for my card. Now I'm using my favorite Simon Hurley Create stencil. You can see this stencil is well loved. In fact, it's kind of the layer that kind of makes the stencil look frosty. I've cleaned it so many times and used this with a variety of mediums that it's kind of coming off. Doesn't hinder the stencil at all. I was still able to use some dark black ink and get this pretty polka dotted background. And so this was the bubble wrap stencil, one of my favorites. I'm taking that cake that I ink blended from the Cake Maker stencil, and I'm going to stamp a sentiment on it from the Cakewalk stamp set. I didn't end up really loving the way this came out. That Remember Me ink is such a deep blue that when I stamped this in black ink, you couldn't really see it. That's no problem. I stamped it again onto white cardstock, and I just kind of bubble cut around the letters and popped that up in the center of my cake. And I ended up liking that better with that little bit of a white border and that dimension with the foam tape. I thought that it gave a lot of life to the card. I cut a frame just by cutting an A2 piece of that stark white cardstock, and then I cut out the center using my paper trimmer, and I adhered everything to a stark white card base, and this card is finished. Thank you guys for joining me. Everything is linked below in the video description if you're interested in the products I used today, and I'll see you soon. Bye! Thank you again very much for watching this video. If you liked this video and you'd like to see more from me, please hit that subscribe button that is on the screen now, and here are a few other videos that I thought you might enjoy.